If you're a heat and air conditioning technician and you open a system that's got major failure and damage, how do you deal with that from the very beginning? This is a fantastic question. I'm Scott Summerville, coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and business and a fantastic day to talk about you. So, coming to you live from Sacramento. One of these times, you're going to end up at a furnace, a heat pump, an air conditioner, a boiler, whatever you work on, and you are going to open the panel and it's going to be like, just everything falls apart. And you're like, hey, what do I do? Well, I'm going to give you my game plan that if I was a tech today, the things that I would do to help alleviate some of these worries and be prepared for strange situations. If I was to roll up on a system today, before I even get started, I would take a couple of pictures. I would take a picture of the equipment as it sits. I'd take a picture of the data plate. I would take a picture of the internal controls as I open the panel, and I would immediately upload them to my CRM. So there's a date and time stamp on it, okay? So like there's no question of when did I put this in. Like sure, you could wait till the end of the call, but before you touch anything, if you're like, hey, this was date stamp, I got to the call at 9 o'clock, I did my door approach, I started working on the equipment at 9:11, and all these images and videos are all uploaded by 9:10, it kind of gives you some, there was no way that I could create that much damage. There was times when I was a technician that I would show up to a call and you could tell from looking at the grass, you could tell from looking at the trees and the branches, another technician had been in there. You could tell from the screws and the nuts. You could tell from the dust on the equipment and where the fingerprints were. Somebody has been in that equipment. Like my brain goes, somebody's been here. Cool, no problem. But be aware, there might be some shenanigans afoot. They might have disconnected stuff. They might have said, hey, here's what's going on. So part of your game plan is if you end up on weird situations where the equipment's not working and you open up a ticking time blob. I'm going to say blob, okay? A ticking time blob. What do? Well, there's going to be a point where you're like, there's something wrong here. I'm going to go stop what I'm doing and I'm going to go grab the homeowner or the business owner and say, hey, look, I want to point these things out before I even get started. Before I even touch this thing and before I even turn it on, I want you to be aware of there's concern 1, 2, 3, and 4. And by the way, it looks like somebody might have already been here and opened this up. And 90% of the time, they're going to say, no, there wasn't. There was, and the voice is going to go up, no, there wasn't. There was nobody here before. You're like, am I talking to a famous mouse? What's going on here? So you open this system up, you take a look at it. It can be like, hey, I'm worried about the compressor. I'm worried about the contactor. I'm worried about the fan motors. I'm worried about like 3 or 4 different things or some issues. If I touch this, it's going to be shady. There's a lot of electrical out there that somebody put it together and you're like, this is a fire hazard. And if I connect these 2 wires, the blue genie is going to end up out of this whole equipment. And this right here is why you should join HVACTechSecrets.com. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not the YouTube channel, which means private coaching, private training, discounted coaching, discounted training, or some really cool videos that you're not going to see on the Facebook group or on the main YouTube channel. So if you open up a ticking time blob, if you open one of these things up, you really got to stop your call. You really got to say, hey, here's what's going on. There was a furnace that I could think of that was on propane, and it was really old. So this is like 2006, 2007, and it had a pilot light. And so as this thing would start, it would shoot a flame out the front of the furnace like 4 or 5 feet. Somewhere I have videos of this. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no way I'm working on it. This thing's a safety hazard. This thing is a fire waiting to happen. And so I reached out to the homeowner. She said, come back and do me a favor and put a proposal together. And like within the next couple of days, she got a new furnace, right? So it could be an issue with the heat exchanger. It could be an issue with the electrical wiring. It could be an issue with something that was done previous to you being there where it's a safety hazard or a concern. It's a ticking time blob, right? I'm not trying to get my channel stuck here. But if you open one of those up, you really got it. Like, just pull out your camera and just start shooting some video. Hey, I'm here at the Smith job and opening up the system, and here's what my concerns are. Like, sometimes you're going to know when you get there it's a weird situation from the very beginning. And especially if somebody says, hey, we've had like 5 technicians out here. Great. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to come stand with me while I open this piece of equipment, or I want you to watch while I'm doing this, because if there's been a bunch of technicians in front of you, chances are pretty good something is really wrong. There might be nothing wrong. It just might be a bunch of misdiagnosis. But be aware, a ticking time blob, B-L-O-B, ticking time blob, may be one of the worst things that you could work on if you don't treat it right. You got 1 of 3 things to do from here. Just 1 of 3. Find the subscribe button. Click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.